So welcome today to Live with Dr. Linda Schwartz, who is hopefully joining us shortly. We're so happy that you're here with us today virtually. Get to see each other and to get to see why Booth UC might be a place that you want to be, and Linda is someone that you want to study with. If you have questions during the presentation, I have Nicolette is our international recruiter, and she's on the call. Beth is on the call, and so is Eliza, all three of the admissions counselors at Booth University College. So we're here to cover all your inquiries. We are here today on Treaty 1 territory in Winnipeg, that is, as visitors to these traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Cree, the Oji Cree, the Assiniboine, the Dakota and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. We at Booth University College, and we across the country as Salvation Army officers and Salvationists and Salvation Army mission partners, recognize that this is the place where our feet are located, and that is the land that is a meeting place of community and culture, just like in the past, just like it is today. And in the past, the diversity of people who occupy this land and the emerging cultures that enrich our community today present to us an invitation to build a stronger community. Let us commit to walk gently with our words, our heart, and our mind in the spirit of truth and reconciliation. So with us today is Dr. Linda Schwartz. I see her on the call. Welcome, Dr. Schwartz. She has an interdisciplinary PhD, music, master's in music, bachelor in music, is a music theorist and composer and an academic administrator with experience as a program chair, dean, and vice president at a variety of public and Christian universities in Manitoba, BC, and Alberta in Canada, ranging from large research and polytech post-secondary institutions to smaller liberal arts schools. Her scholarly and creative studies were completed at the University of Manitoba, where she took her bachelor and her doctorate degrees, with additional graduate studies at Trinity Western, at Western University, with her master's degree, the University of Winnipeg Theological Consortium, and the University of Manitoba, Minnesota. I gotta slow down. Dr. Schwartz has a reputation as an innovative and collaborative leader and a change agent, and has extensive experience with program development and review across a wide range of disciplines, including humanities, creative and performing arts, social sciences, and sciences. She's published in many areas of academic leadership, faculty development, and core curricula in Christian higher ed, and the scholarship of teaching and learning in music theory pedagogy. She continues to teach in the areas of critical and cultural studies, aesthetics, and music theory, and is also active professionally as a publisher of music by established and emerging Canadian composers. Joining Dr. Linda Schwartz is Rhonda Friesen, who is our Dean of Students, and with over 25 experience as a higher ed admin. Rhonda's passionate about positive contribution that education makes for both individuals and their communities. Stemming from an early career background in international community development, which we heard a little bit about earlier in the call, which is kind of very, very cool. Rhonda brings a commitment to community engagement, inclusion, and social justice in her practice. In her current role as Dean of Students at Booth UC in Winnipeg, Rhonda is tenacious about creating an institutional environment in which students thrive in their pursuit of higher ed. And last but not least is Eliza Thomas. Eliza hails from New York City. She was an international student who received her BA in Winnipeg in social sciences. She is a foodie, I will attest to that, an aspiring gardener, and our esteemed admissions counselor at this event. Welcome, Eliza. And I'm Georgine Van de Mosselaer, Director of Advancement at Booth University College, and I'm privileged to be hosting tonight. So a little bit about Booth before we get into meat and potatoes. I want to sort of create a baseline because I'm not sure what everyone's knowledge on the call is. So we're going to talk a little bit about who Booth is, what Booth is, and then we will invite Linda to a fireside chat and have our Live with Linda portion of the event. So we're situated right now in 2 buildings in the heart of downtown Winnipeg. We're surrounded by unique shops, cafes, restaurants, close to Osborne Village, the Fork, the Human Rights Museum, and the Exchange District. Lots of festivals and lots of things to do around where we're located. Booth UC is diverse and inclusive, and it values the contributions of its students with a student body that includes individuals from a variety of backgrounds. You can see here 20 countries represented in our student body, cultures, a variety of cultures and faiths. We are committed to creating a welcoming and supportive learning environment for all. The key things about Booth is that it has a small class size with an average of 14 students per class. You get a lot of personalized attention from your instructors and faculty. Additionally, as you can see, this class ratio is faculty is 11:1, which further supports the college's commitment to personalized learning. So it's a very unique place, as we talked about earlier. It's like a family, and in that family, our students thrive, and so do the staff and faculty. I'm going to now pass it over to Eliza, who's going to tell you a little bit about the degree programs at Booth, and then followed by Rhonda, who'll tell you a bit about student services and support, and then we will speak with Linda. Welcome, Eliza.
Thank you for that introduction, Georgine. So yeah, you're probably wondering what type of programs we offer at Booth. So Booth is a liberal arts institution, so we have a unique focus in social justice, which makes our programs particularly important. So our denominational affiliation is with the Salvation Army, which is renowned for its commitment to serving people in need around the world. So Booth UC's programs are basically designed to equip students with the knowledge and skills they need to address the most pressing social issues at this time. So in our degree programs, what I personally find is very interesting is the experiential learning. So students have the opportunity to participate in field education and urban service learning that allows them to apply their learning in real world contexts. So you're able to really apply what you learn, which I think is personally very unique. Another unique strength about Booth's programs is its interdisciplinary nature. So students can choose from a variety of majors ranging from social work, psychology, business, English, and film studies. So it kind of gives you a different, a way to explore different fields while you're attending Booth, like depending on the major you choose. So this approach allows you to also dive into complex social issues facing our world today, and even prepares you to be an effective leader for after you graduate Booth College. Finally, Booth UC's commitment to Christian faith is an important aspect of our programs. So we definitely have students instilled with social responsibility and ground students with the values of hope, mercy, social justice, and service to others. So this holistic approach to education allows students to develop a deep understanding of the ethical and moral dimensions of social issues and prepares you to be a more effective advocate for change. So how do you do this, right? So we've curated programs from 3 different schools. So those different schools as listed there are the schools of business, schools of humanities, and the schools of social work. So at Booth, what I also find unique about the program is definitely there's flexibility. So there's 2-year programs, 3-year programs, and 4-year programs. So this is just a layout of our business program. We can go to the next slide. So this is our humanities program as well. It's a pretty healthy list of options if you had to ask me, once again with the flexibility. And then lastly, this is our brand new program. This is our School of Social Work. So in speaking with Dr. Alex Sawatsky, recently Booth UC's graduates have exceeded expectations, and they've also scored the highest in, second highest in North America and the highest in Canada. So for those interested in social work, that's definitely something to keep in mind. So after this presentation, I encourage you to explore our website. On the website, you can see a list of majors. You'll also see an Apply Now button. It's pretty much on every single page. You can click it. Once you fill your application, you'll be directed either towards me, Beth, or Nicolette, and then we can help guide you through the application process. I'm going to introduce Rhonda, who'll be doing the next slide.
Thank you so much, Eliza. I am thrilled to meet you, and it's exciting just to see your names and your faces and to know that you have a curiosity about attending Booth. You know, I've worked with students in higher education for over 25 years. I know I'm dating myself, but I understand just how important and potentially transformative this decision is for you. I know that it's a time of exploring horizons and testing your limits and realizing your potential. And it's also probably a time when you're feeling challenged, when you're a little bit uncertain about a new environment, meeting new people, being asked to live up to new expectations in a Canadian university. So I just want to assure you, I'm here to tell you that at Booth UC, we are completely committed to helping you achieve your full potential academically, as well as personally at Booth, and just simply to be the best you possible throughout your studies at Booth UC. We do this in a number of different ways, and so I want to just review a couple of things with you. So first of all, of course, your academic learning. You are here to get your degree. This can be a daunting thing, whether you're an A student or a just scraping by student. The Academic Learning Center is available for all Booth UC students to help with reviewing papers for grammar or editing or looking at writing a research paper outline, time management, avoiding plagiarism, that's a kind of a big one, and just understanding all the study strategies that are, could work for you to really succeed academically in your courses, because we really want you to get to graduation and get that degree in the best possible way. With our accessibility services program, many students at Booth UC, just like in our wider Canadian society, live with disabilities, whether these are learning disabilities, physical disabilities, neurological, visual, hearing, psychological, etc. Not all of us learn in the same way, and that's why we have our accessibility services program. So if you're someone who is living with a disability, be sure to talk to one of our student services team, myself in particular. We'll make sure that you have the academic accommodations to ensure that you succeed at Booth. Our physical health is so important, right? None of us can perform well if we're not well physically. So we really encourage our Booth students to take care of themselves while they're at school. We are located downtown, close to a number of different fitness facilities and clinics and things like that. We have a particular partnership with the University of Winnipeg, where Booth students are permitted to use their fitness facilities for no additional charge. And our students are all given a supplemental health and dental program that provides kind of partial coverage for some of the medical fees that are not covered by Manitoba Health. So these are all ways that we can support your physical health. Of course, with the supplemental health and dental, you are able to opt out of that plan if you have comparable coverage elsewhere. And for our international students, we provide kind of a full basic health coverage that mimics the Manitoba Public Health Insurance coverage for very competitive prices. You're not going to find better coverage for better prices anywhere else in Manitoba. So that's available for our international students. Mental health, right? It's just as important as our physical health, and we need to take care of that as well. So at Booth, all of our students have access to professional counseling through by using technology through the My Student Support program. This is available free of charge to our Booth students any time of the day or night, any day of the year, 24/7, 365, you have access to professional counseling support using technology. So this is a really great resource. You also, through the My Student Support Program, also have access to a global community of peer support in mental health supports. So I encourage all of our students to check that out. These services are also available in multiple languages. So if English isn't your first language, you might find something, be part of a community or have a service in your first language. We also have the My Wellness program that provides mental health training and assessment. And we have a partnership with Providence University College here in Manitoba that will give our students access to face-to-face counseling through their counseling graduate program there. And of course, several people have talked about the spiritual growth aspect of coming to Booth UC. We are an open access institution, so we have students from many different faith backgrounds, no faith background, but all of our faculty and staff are committed to a Christian worldview, and all of our courses and our services have that in mind. We are committed to see you grow spiritually at Booth. And so we take time as a community, whether it's in our residence or just our general student body, in your classes, you're going to have time to explore what it means to grow spiritually. Next slide. Wonderful. And of course, being part of the Booth community is so important. I mean, at Booth, we are, as has been mentioned, very much like a family, right? And so when you come into Booth, our student services team is there to welcome you the moment you walk into the door. Your name is known. You are part of a group that you're going to connect with throughout your degree program. Student council, we have a student council at Booth. Their mission statement is to foster a vibrant, engaged and connected student body. They are so busy throughout the year. There are international reps, there are Indigenous student reps, there are residents, commuter reps, and of course our executive. And they are planning things throughout the year, fun activities, social events. Of course, we like to celebrate the seasons here. They provide advocacy and awareness events, taking on, so much about at Booth is about social justice, so raising funds for important causes. And then the transition times are really important, and there are times when we want to do a little extra celebrating and a little extra, just being with our students. So orientation as new students, you're going to get a full orientation. It's available both virtually, online, as well as in person. Right at the beginning of September, our our Booth 100 orientation course provides all of the information you're going to need to know to succeed at Booth. It's going to become available at the beginning of August this year, and you will have till the third week in September to complete it. It's not for credit, and you're not charged for it, but I tell you, the students who complete that course tend to do a lot better. They're a lot more connected, and they're just better prepared for their education. So I really encourage you to do that course. And then we'll have some fun in that first week of September. We'll have a barbecue, we'll have just some fun and games, and we'll get to know you face to face. Convocation, where all of us are thinking a lot about convocation right now. It happens at the end of April every year. And so our next convocation is coming up this coming Sunday. And it's a grand celebration when we celebrate all our grads. And there's a lot of pomp and circumstance and a lot of food and a lot of just congratulating everyone. So these are special moments in our Booth community, and I really hope that you are going to join us for them.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. Thank you. I want to go back to school now. So thank you for that. And I would like to now welcome to center stage Dr. Linda Schwartz. I also want to make a special shout out to Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Susan Van Dynen, who's joined us on the call as well, our president. Welcome, Susan. I am going to stop sharing my screen so that you can see Linda and I as we chat. So one moment here, stop sharing. And welcome, Linda. How are you?
Thank you. Well, and I'm delighted to be with all of you tonight.
I gave you a bit of an introduction at the beginning. Would you like to give a bit of an introduction to yourself now that we have this baseline set so that we all know who Booth is and what Booth is and on why people should come to Booth University College or work at Booth University College, which we do?
The only thing that I would probably add is that, like many of you who have joined the call and the meeting tonight, I'm a newbie. I'm brand new to Booth, having not quite 2 months under my belt. So I'm still learning. There's a lot that I have to learn yet about Booth, although I have known about Booth ever since its beginnings in 1982. And I believe that Georgine alluded earlier, we are celebrating an anniversary earlier or later this week, along with our convocation ceremonies. So I continue to learn about Booth, about its traditions, about its customs, and I'm delighted to be able to join this community and happy to be with all of you tonight as a learner.
Wonderful. Yes, we are turning 40 on Saturday. I wish I could turn 40 again, but I guess I can on Saturday. So that's exciting. So Linda, we asked the admissions counselors, what do people want to know about academics so that you could sort of address some of those things and talk about them and cover a few different subjects. And number one, and we have said many times in this presentation, we are a faith community, but all students have to take courses around faith as well. And so why do I have to take courses about faith, about Christianity? We get asked that a lot. So I'm going to ask that to you, Linda. Why do I have to take courses in Christianity?
My answer may not be the same as everyone else's, but I have spent a great deal of time contemplating this question, and more specifically, what it is about a faith-based school such as Booth that helps it to be set apart, to be different from the public universities in particular, that is, those schools that are primarily supported by government and that have a primary responsibility to continue what we typically refer to as the K-12 experience. I often use the phrase K-16, and 16 essentially covers the undergraduate or first degree at a university, a public university. And not unlike the K-12 system, public university education is funded by government, and there are therefore expectations about being part of the public system of education at the post-secondary level that would separate it from what we would often refer to as parochial education or faith-based education in Canada in particular. So why is it that choosing to attend a place like Booth University College would necessitate a kind of difference in terms of course content? The courses that you would take at Booth, which may not necessarily fall within your distinct subject areas, courses in spirituality, in faith formation, in the study of scripture, Old Testament and New, and in theology, which is essentially thinking about our faith and thinking about the ways in which our faith has been shaped in various traditions within our history and the history of Christendom, come out of an understanding that Christian university education has distinctives. And what do I mean by that? Distinctives are ways in which we understand the world, we understand ourselves, and we understand our need to be connected to our Creator. We as Christians obviously profess Jesus Christ as Lord. Not everyone who is part of our community will hold the same confession. They may have a different confession. They are welcome. And anyone is invited to be part of that community. However, the courses we take happen to align with our distinctives. That is, we want to have an opportunity for all students who study at Booth University College to become acquainted with, familiar with the history, the tradition, the structure, the belief, and the ways in which Christians view the world. This is what makes Booth distinctive. You will find these kinds of courses at any Christian university, and they will align with the particular beliefs or patterns of understanding that align with that particular institution's tradition, its denominational affiliation, and also the ways in which it understands and views the role of Christians in the world. Now, I perhaps have a slightly different way of identifying this than some people have expressed. It is about values-based education. And what I mean by that is that in a public university setting, there is a very clear, if unwritten, distinctive that says that public education is valueless. In other words, we don't emphasize or tout a particular perspective on how one lives one's life, how one goes about the business of being in the world. That is for the individual to decide. Where Christian universities differ is that they are very strongly affiliated with value systems. They talk about those value systems. They understand those value systems as, to use a very Catholic phrase, a rule of life, a way in which or by which we understand or we express or we live out our faith. And in order to make one's faith vibrant and one's own, it is critical that we understand the ways in which our faith traditions have shaped us and continue to nurture us. And so when we talk about values-based education, we're talking about education that is informed by our understanding of the world as it has been shaped or formed by a particular tradition, whether that be an evangelical tradition within Christendom, whether it be a more what we would call liturgical tradition, particularly of the sort of larger state church denominations, such as Roman Catholicism, or the Anglican tradition, or other larger traditions like the Lutheran Church, for example. Having affiliation with the Salvation Army means, and I thank Eliza for raising this earlier, the tie-in to values such as hope, justice, and mercy. These are the values-based traditions on which Booth is based. And you'll hear those words a lot in the classroom, in staff meetings, in our understanding of who we are as a community together. And so these values become part of the Booth experience. Another way that this could be phrased in terms of understanding the worldview that Rhonda mentioned earlier is that we as Christians see ourselves as people in the world who bring a particular value set to various tables of discussion. And so we like to say that there needs to be a space made for the perspective of one who is a confessing Christian, one who exercises a faith life. And a phrase that I have coined to some extent in my scholarship is that Christians act into the world and are present at the dangerous intersections between faith and public discourse. There's a reason for Christian higher education. Christian higher education trains those of us who are brought up in that tradition to be articulate spokespeople, to be people of the way, people of Christ followers, who have the ability or the gift of being able to speak from a Christian perspective into a world that is decidedly secular and that presents a particular point of view with a values-based approach. We understand that we bring something unique, that it is distinctive, and that is why we believe that there is value in educating within a tradition such as the one that is evident within the Booth community. I hope that helps to answer your question, Georgine.
Yes, it does, Linda. Values-based education. It makes a lot of sense to me, having taken a degree at a public institution and now working at a Christian institution. So those of you that have been in the public school system will understand that too, and we'll see some of those values in your fellow students, and if you come to work, fellow colleagues at Booth University College. So Eliza mentioned earlier that we are a liberal arts university. Liberal arts to me means no science, no math. And I have an engineering degree. That's just like, what do you mean there's no math and science? So if I want to take a Bachelor of Business and I want to be an accountant, because we now have a major in accounting, don't I have to take math? And how would I take math? What if I want to take a science course as part of my psychology degree? How would I do that? Over to you, Linda. Help.
Well, I'm going to go way, way back to probably the 3rd or 4th century and root or place this question in a tradition, a long tradition, which actually began in the church. Universities, as we know them in the Western world, were in fact as much a part of the tradition of spiritual formation as the church itself. The university was the place where monks, in particular, those who took holy orders, learned about the world. And yes, Georgine, they did study science and they did study math. And in fact, when we refer to the liberal arts, we usually refer to the liberal arts and sciences. These were part of 7 primary subject areas referred to as the trivium and the quadrivium. And the trivium had to do mostly with our understanding of words and the ways in which we communicate with words. So rhetoric and the study of languages would traditionally be part of this group of subjects we refer to as the trivium. History is also a part of the trivium. And of course, that means that our study of theology and our study of the Bible would fall under trivium subjects. The quadrivium, 4 extra subjects that were regarded in the early days of the university as important, included the sciences. They also, interestingly enough, included music, because music was considered a science as well. And so we have these 7 primary branches of study. 3, the trivium on the sort of language side and history side of the equation, and 4 that involved numeracy and the study of the world in its physical scientific identity, and also the study of phenomena, such as oral phenomena, what we hear with our ears, what we see with our eyes, the way we apprehend the world through the senses. We're part of the quadrivium. So why liberal arts? Because liberal arts are the absolute foundation or the seat of all university learning. And it is from those 7 subjects, the trivium and the quadrivium, that we take all of our other subject matter that has become more specialized over the last 2,000 or so years of the history of the university within the Western tradition. Everything stems from the liberal arts.
All right, you win. No, but if I did want to take math or science at Booth, I can do that, right?
You sure can.
Because it stems from liberal arts, and if we're liberal arts, then it would figure that I can take math or science.
Absolutely, and we
Awesome.
have a variety of different course content available to you through Booth, and also through a consortium called Acadium, to which Booth belongs with many other universities across North America. And so if there is a course that interests you, or one that you feel would help you both with your Booth degree in terms of getting those particular electives that focus on an area of study that you would like to do further in higher education in, then Booth has a very wide array of course offerings that can become available to you through the consortium. And we have a number of students on our campus who study courses that are offered by other universities. And likewise, students come to Booth from other campuses all over North America to take courses with us that are not available at their institution. So it's a wonderful way of course sharing, of being able to widen the palette of course colors that are available to students across and within Booth. In fact, I have just been receiving a flurry of emails in the last week or so from students who are very busily registering for spring courses, which start in May. And Acadium sends to me all of the course content that students are taking, both Booth students at other schools and other students coming from different places to study at Booth. So I'm seeing, for example, that our course, Science for Non-Scientists, is very popular with a number of schools in the US who don't have such a course, but whose students require that course either for further degree study or for electives within their own home university. So it's a wonderful way of expanding our knowledge base without necessarily having all of the courses available right here. In many cases, there would maybe only be a handful of students that would study a particular course if Booth were to offer its own courses. This way, we can expand the offerings to others, and others find us through the consortium and find the courses that may be important to them and to their learning as well. So yes, science and math are possible at Booth.
Yay, thanks, Linda. I'm going to skip to the last question I had here because I want to leave time for a Q&A. Or someone has asked, when can I ask questions? And I know we wanted to sort of cover a few things first and then give some time before our time is up for you to answer some questions. So you alluded to people all over North America taking courses at Booth, and I know that they don't travel. So what is flex learning that they use? Probably they're online. So what are we doing in that regard at Booth University College? How are we implementing a hybrid or an online or an in-person flex learning plan? What does that look like for fall?
Well, I think, again, to do a little bit more recent history, our recent collective worldwide experience with the pandemic has taught us that we can do education. We can partake in many different kinds of learning opportunities in many different ways. And so Booth has both engaged the opportunity out of necessity that was thrust upon every post-secondary institution when classes had to flip from in-person learning in a classroom to many other kinds of modalities. So to get to your question, Booth is pivoting now toward what the literature would call high flex. And that means that you are not necessarily stuck with one modality of learning. In other words, your options may range from something that is entirely online, learn on your own, content is provided, facilitation is perhaps very, very minimal. You complete the course entirely on your own with the materials provided. This is often called asynchronous learning as well, because you are learning apart from any other regularly scheduled class or timetable. You have the freedom to be able to pursue learning on your own. Some of Booth's courses are online and asynchronous. Not a lot of them, but some of them are. And they work well in that environment. So that is one mode of learning. Another, to which Georgine referred earlier, is hybrid. And this is probably the most high flex of all of the offerings that Booth has. And it in fact speaks for and is described in a number, the vast majority of the courses that Booth currently offers. Because there might actually be students physically present, sitting in a classroom with an instructor who is also in the classroom, either providing a lecture or engaging in some sort of interactive discussion or other kind of interactive learning exercise. But there may be other students who have joined that particular classroom and extended that classroom virtually by their presence. And they are learning in real time alongside those who are studying physically in the space. We refer to this as a hybrid modality, and in some places it's called a blended learning environment. And so it gives the student the ability to flexibly learn in the sense that they may be local and could join the class physically, or if circumstances don't allow that, they're able to join in real time with their class on a number of occasions in a flexible manner from a distance, usually via one of the video conference platforms, such as Zoom, which we are currently on, or Teams, which is a Microsoft platform, or other kinds of devices like that. There is yet another modality that is often used, and that is also a real-time virtual experience where the only way to take a course is virtually, but in real time with an instructor who meets with the class only in a virtual mode. And Booth does, in fact, all of these modalities. Not every course, but we are pivoting toward having more than one option for each course that is offered at Booth. And so you will find some courses that are virtual only. That is, you're taking that course in real time by distance, online only, which means that you are responsible for learning most of the material on your own with minimal facilitation, or in a hybrid or blended fashion, where you could be in a classroom if you chose, hence the flex, or you could be joining your class virtually in an online way. And so, yes, there are a variety of different options available to you as a student, whether you are local or remote. You can complete a degree program of study at Booth using one or more of these modalities.
I'd never heard the term high flex. There's so much new terminology
Yes.
that's come out of the pandemic and come out of our reimagining of learning. So
Right. And Booth is a very good example of a high flex institution. And
Yeah.
you'll see all kinds of literature if you Google high flex, and it will in fact describe the kind of place that Booth is becoming. And I say becoming because we're not completely there yet. We are still learning, but we're able to do much more than we did 3 or 4 years ago with delivery in different models of curricular and learning technique.
just like there is new vocabulary, there is new learning, new techniques, new
That's right.
research going on all the time.
Mhm.
And I know we've been doing some of our own as well, research. So thank you, Dr. Linda Schwartz. I'm going to open it up now to questions. If you want to unmute yourself and ask a question or put up your hand, whichever you prefer. Linda or myself or Rhonda or one of the admissions counselors. I'm not hearing or seeing anything. In the absence of that, Linda, I'm going to ask you the last question we had on our list, if that's okay. And there still may be a minute or two at the end. I'll start with the big one. What's Booth's view on LGBT?
And I'm going to defer, if I might, to Rhonda to take that question.
Yeah.
Yes, you are welcome. No, we do have a transgender policy at Booth, and it's very simple. We will adopt whatever gender you prefer to be known by. So,
And, yeah.
Go ahead.
And not even gender specific. If you are,
Right.
you know, based on sexuality, there is absolutely no problem.
Yeah.
You know,
No barriers
in
there.
having whatever sexuality you that you identify with or are, sorry, and whatever gender you are as well.
Right.
Both are protected, valued, respected at Booth. And I can say that honestly. I have a daughter who's lesbian, so I can honestly say that because I take it very seriously. Does that answer your question? Okay, awesome. Thanks for asking it. It's an important question. It's an important question.
Absolutely.
So Linda, I know that I hear these words pre-professional pathways. And you know what, before working at Booth, I wasn't sure what they were. I knew that if I wanted to go into education, I probably could go anywhere and then apply at a university that has education. If I wanted to be in nursing, I could probably go anywhere and then apply to a university. So what pre-professional pathways do we have at Booth University College that are available to those who may not want to specifically end up as a social worker or in a business program?
So there are some specific pre-professional pathways, and in order to be aware of them, you need to know a little bit about what we mean when we talk about professional degrees. Professional degrees are not liberal arts degrees. They are, in fact, rather than a cross-section of different humanities, social science, and science courses, which would make up a liberal arts degree, and one might major, for example, in history or in theology or in English literature. These would all be considered subjects within the trivium or quadrivium, going back to that old language again, and would be considered liberal arts or arts degrees. If you are interested in pursuing a professional degree, education is one that has been mentioned. Possibility might exist for someone who would want to do law, or who would want to do medicine, or who would want to do anything having to do with lab science, for example. There are pathways that can take you to those particular, very specific kinds of degree content. And I will start with education because something that is not as well known, surprisingly, as we know it, is that anyone who wishes to teach, particularly in a middle or a secondary school, that is in junior high or high school, needs to have a fixed number of credits that are called teachable subjects. And so the standard practice in Canada is that you collect teachable subject areas in a Bachelor of Arts degree, of all places, in a liberal arts degree. So supposing you want to teach in high school and you would like to teach, let's say, history, and maybe as a secondary area, because principals do have a habit of giving their teachers all sorts of things to teach that they may never have trained for, you want to teach social studies, related to history, of course, and so you may have an opportunity to cross the fields a little bit with some coursework. You would take an undergraduate, possibly 3-year degree, which we have at Booth, and make sure that you cover, perhaps in an interdisciplinary BA program, at least 18 credits of history, so that you have enough for a teachable subject in a high school. And you would take 18 credits, perhaps, of subject matter that could relate to social studies, such as international relations, for example, or courses that involve politics, or courses that involve economics. They all fall into the social studies arena. Culture is another example of a course area which might focus on social studies. You then have all the teachables wrapped up neatly within a 3-year degree program that you can transfer to an after degree in education. And an after degree in education gives you a Bachelor of Education degree on top of your BA, your Bachelor of Arts. So you have 2 degrees, typically being a 3-year BA and a 2-year transfer pathway to an education degree, a B.Ed. And in the B.Ed program, the after degree, you would take your courses in curriculum design, in teaching practice, and in developing and designing learning content. So you'd be taught how to teach, very simply. You'd be given the tools for developing curriculum in your own subject area in an after degree, and you would specialize. That's a pathway. That's what we mean by a pathway. That 2 or 3 years of programming will take you as a pathway to completion of a professional program. So we also have pathways that might take you to a medical degree of some kind or other, nursing or medicine with a specialization, because everyone who's involved in medical degrees has to have a broad cross-section of liberal arts and sciences that form a foundation to their coursework. We could prepare you for a pathway into a law degree, because again, humanities and social sciences forming the foundation of our understanding of human behavior, very important for law. It takes you by way of the social sciences primarily into a law profession. People who want to do business may in fact do an entire 4-year business degree at Booth, but there are pathways that can take students from Booth into the kinds of business professions that maybe Booth isn't specializing in. For example, nonprofits might be an area that you would want to study and go elsewhere to do that. 2 years at Booth could prepare you very well for an after degree in business, specializing, for example, in nonprofit management and organization. So you have a variety of professional degree transfer or pathway options that are available to you with a basic 2 years or 60 credits at Booth as a place to start your educational pathway.
Very good. I'm just looking at some of the questions. And one of them was for the social work program. I know we need to have some experience with social work to apply. Do you have any job suggestions? And I know time at 7:02, and Linda, your time is tight. But Alex, I encourage you to contact Eliza at admissions@boothuc.ca, and we can answer that question. No, you don't need experience, but you do need a volunteer reference, an academic reference, or a work reference, 2 of the 3 of those, and a personal statement. So a sort of a passion for social work, a passion to go forward in that area. Our scholarships seem to be reserved for Salvationists. Why not extend this to us? I may convert us with this kind of love. We do have scholarships as well for non-Salvationists. We do. We have many. We have just as many for non as we do for Salvationists. Yes, the funding is there for Salvationists. They are a denominational owner, so that's not unexpected. But yes, there is definitely funding for everyone. And Tina, you are Raymond Badu. Nice to meet you, Raymond. I am going to call this evening to a close. I want to thank Dr. Linda Schwartz. I learned so much from you. I always do when we talk, because you go back to the kernel of the question and to provide the answer from the beginning and then move forward. And I really appreciate that. I want to thank Rhonda Friesen for taking time to be here with us and explain about all the wonderful things that students have to support them at Booth University College. And I'd like to also thank my colleagues. Eliza, thank you so much for presenting on behalf of admissions and academics. Thank you, Beth, for being here with us. And thank you to Nicolette as well for joining us tonight. To all of you from Toronto, to Ghana, to Kenya, to wherever you are, wherever you lay your head tonight, we wish you all of God's blessings, and we hope to see you sometime soon. Take care.